This is pretty rare for me, but sometimes the keywords are too generic. New York City, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, VHS tapes, grandmother, aunt. I tried everything, but I can't find the citation where I was mailed about a collection of VHS tapes that somebody's relative had, where the relative had passed on and they were in the process of getting rid of all of everything in the apartment to prepare it to be sold. And was I interested in having a few crates, a few boxes of VHS tapes? What I do know is that the answer was yes, because I still have them, piles of them. And when I loaded those tapes into my car and put them in my storage unit and later my office, it was all remarkably generic for me. Not the first time I had driven a few dozen miles to pick up something involving old media and then putting it away for later. Later arrived, and as I've been going through this particular collection, I really wish I had the name. And while I'm looking for that name, I'll explain why. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It, a podcast about technology, history, and getting myself out of debt. Thanks to Jeff Atwood and the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. The collection, like I said, is a pile of VHS tapes. Very standard, customer-grade VHS tapes. Pretty much none of them are recorded at the standard speed for 2 hours a tape. They're either 4 hours or 6 hours. And here's a little fact. Those tapes should never have been recorded at 4 or 6 hours. I mean, sure, you can definitely set them and go at that speed, but the tapes don't hold up. They just simply don't. They end up blurring and giving a sort of faded, defocused feel to the video signal that they're taking in. Even tapes recorded towards the end of VHS tapes, when television signals and cameras are at their best, it just looks like a blurry, lost mess. So when I put these tapes in initially, I looked at them, thought, generic television, and I put them away and focused on the good stuff, the commercial-grade U-matic tapes, the VHS tapes of technical presentations, pieces that I thought were unique in their own way of events and other relevant cultural artifacts that people would like to have. And that has been very successful. But with the new office and its ability to take and move through media at the speed that I am doing, it was time to start popping in these tapes and really start to see them, one after another, piled up in a corner, ready to go. I'm down to what I believe are the last 39 of this collection. And here, my respect for this woman who did all of this recording is legion. You see, what interested her, besides British television being played on the local PBS station, was spectacle and propagandistic television. She would never, in a million years, agree with that. But that's what it is. Her collection of curated videotapes, carefully recorded in some cases over years, represents event television at the network level. What was ABC, NBC, CBS providing people in terms of events happening primarily around New York City and sometimes Washington that you could tune into, often commercial or limited commercial, and see play out months in the planning, spectacle, celebration. Anybody for whom network television was their primary input of pop culture besides movies will appreciate that a special was, at the time, special. You weren't going to see a new episode of a situation comedy. You weren't going to see a news program. You were going to see a 1 hour or 2 hour event that was going to happen. It could be something animated. It could be something presented on a holiday. It could be a political or military event. But the point was, things were going to be different, and from the comfort of your home, on your family's television, you could see these things unfold. Some of that still exists now. Probably the most prominent are New Year's Eve shows, 4th of July shows. And to be sure, she captured those. She captured New York City celebrating Christmas and celebrating New Year. Sometimes she would also record how Washington celebrated those holidays. But there's more than that. In what I think was a demonstration of her faith, she would record televised masses, visits by popes, ascensions of cardinals in New York City, any religious events that were broadcast, funerals, weddings, coronations. She would clearly focus on important events in pop culture, like the last show of Johnny Carson, but also she would put together 2 or 3 years of 4th of July events on the same tape, almost like a compilation of these events for an eventual viewing of some sort. I've been through enough of these to know that it is very rare for somebody to record a bunch of things, whatever those things are, and truly go back and reference them. It's just not as important after you record 15 episodes of a series to really go back and watch all 15 episodes on the tape. It's not as important as the act of capturing these things and knowing they're nearby. In many cases, I could rewind these tapes from where they were stopped, and I could see that they were stopped at the end of the last recording, which means I know, in many cases, she recorded them, pressed stop, and never touched them again. Written on the covers, in pen, are her explanations of what's inside, the name of the event, the date that it happened, and whether or not it's recorded in SP, EP, or LP. And it's almost always EP and LP, 4 hours and 6 hours. Recording them to these tapes for posterity. Now here's the shocking thing. There are very few recordings like this where you start out at the beginning of an event that you can easily get to. YouTube doesn't quite allow some of these tapes to exist. All you need is a piece of music in them and they go away. But to have the entire presidential inauguration of Clinton or Bush, or multiple presidential funerals, or the funeral of Diana, Princess of Wales, not just together, but edited in the way that only network television would edit things, with occasional commercial breaks showing the tasteful commercials that they would decide could play. Recently, a parade went by. This was a parade to celebrate the first Iraq War. It was a self-congratulatory ticker tape parade down New York City with banners and hullabaloo and music. Each of these could have a variety of meanings to people. For me, it's very much showing what an apparatus does, what a combination of government, civic, entertainment does when put together to produce some sort of televised spectacle to evoke a feeling of what's gone right for people, of what to look forward to give hope, whether from narration, music, scripts, and so on. Newscasters telling you what's going on in the most positive way, nary a negative image in the lot. Just a whole bunch of ceremony and pomp and circumstance to provide you with a feeling that things are going to be okay. Taken as they will be from the decades-long perspective we now stand at, this collection of tapes ends up having true, honest, contextual meaning to what went on. In there, I find the strength. I find the meaning in these tapes. The visit that I made to this house was not a unique one. I went up the stairs of the brownstone and I was shown kind of the furniture, and there were pieces of electronics and different machines that she used, radios and sewing machines, and I think it's important for families as to whether to keep them or sell them. I tend to go for media because media has only a middling value to folks, and they know I'm not going to resell it. But I don't like taking other pieces unless there's a very specific reason. Instead, what I saw was the house of an older woman who had beautiful furniture, beautiful silverware and china, and who had rooms that were filled with clearly memories of childhood and family. And there, in her various rooms, she would clearly be transported to these events, these places that she herself might never travel to, but that she followed along and preserving, maybe not knowingly from my hands or the vision of many others out there who will now see these digitized tapes, but for a hopeful future that would look back with fondness at this magnetic nostalgia, at this self-congratulatory tale woven in hour after hour to the best of what pop culture, government, and television can provide. And as I wind down this project, I can only wish that the record shows that I am so grateful that she did this. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It. Thanks to James Bighoyanu, Ernie Hershey, Michael Rubin, Dilip Reddy, Sean Kelly, Trixie the Cat, Joey Mink, Martin, Symbionts, Benjamin Guts, and Anonymous, along with the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. The tapes are all ending up in the VHS vault at the archive, a collection that goes on for years, decades of recorded VHS television and products. It's quite a collection, and this, well, let's just call her what she is, this cultural curator will have donated easily 500,000 hours of historical record into its stacks. Not a bad accomplishment.